careful.
I've been playing basketball pretty much since I can remember.
36-32, right? Okay.
We had like a little Tykes hoop in the basement since I could walk.
See if you...
So I just remember trying to chase my older brother around, shooting on that. Pretty much all my memories are shooting in the driveway with him in the basement, playing one-on-one, crying to my mom that he was fouling me or that he was beating me. So yeah, those are really my childhood memories of basketball.
When he was 9 years old, he ended up playing on a team that was fairly competitive, that ended up going to nationals in Orlando. I think from that point, we knew basketball would be a part of his life.
It was the fall of 2020. At the time, Garrett was in high school. It was his senior year. Things were kind of shut down at Episcopal High School. During that time, he wasn't in regular practices or anything, but he was working out.
I started feeling a lot of like tightness in my hip.
That was for a month or two, and then finally I took him to see my chiropractor just to check out. Maybe it was a knot of some sort. My chiropractor worked on it and basically told us, I don't think this is a knot. Something else is going on here.
We went to get the MRI in late February. I believe it was March 1st was the date. And I just remember being in the kitchen. My mom got the call. In that moment, kind of everything changed. Like my perspective on, life, what I had in front of me. You kind of shift all your dreams for the future kind of shift to like, am I gonna live to see the next year? Everything you're thinking about kind of changes like in a second.
It was something called a desmoid tumor. That's a very aggressive form of benign tumor.
It's in my, glute to kind of like thigh region on my left leg. First thing we did was actually a chemo pill. I was 19, so it's not something you ever think you'd be doing at that age. Then I had a surgery in August. It was a 10-hour surgery to try to freeze the tumor. I remember that was kind of hit me harder then. I remember they told me if we hit something a little too far to the left, a little too far to the right, you might wake up and not be able to walk for a couple of years. And I ended up doing 4 of those surgeries over the course of the next year.
He was so hopeful about his future. Garrett was about to start his freshman year at Princeton. This is a kid that had many Division I coaches offered him spots on their team. And for this to just really hit him where it hurt him the most. And then he's going off to his freshman year and he doesn't get to be a regular college kid. Forget the basketball stuff. How about just being a normal 19-year-old going to college?
So I went to school on crutches. At that time, I didn't necessarily know how long the process was gonna be. I was physically unable to really, I couldn't even practice, and working out even was pretty difficult that year. And then trying to go to school during that time, for me, it was kind of virtually impossible. We kind of realized as the months went by and we got another MRI that, it didn't really help that much. So I ended up doing another surgery in December. And from there, it was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to play this year. So that's when I redshirted. I took that whole year off to do chemotherapy. I did 1 infusion every month. So I ended up doing 9 rounds of chemotherapy last year. We got to like the middle part, like around like 6th or 7th infusion, when I started to feel a lot of relief in my hip, in my leg, and in my workouts, I was kind of moving a little bit closer to what I felt like before the tumor. Being at Princeton and during the time I was there, I was going through a lot of rough things, and I kind of just wanted a new start.
For the George Washington Revolutionaries, it's Maximus Edwards, James Bishop IV, Babatunde Akínbólá Stretch, getting the start with Garrett Johnson and Darren Buchanan Jr. GW's.
I would describe Garrett first as a person who, is an incredibly mature young man for, really what he's been through. He had to grow up very fast. I watched Garrett play for the first time in a workout, and he looked healthy.
He was focused, and he went out there and just blew it away. Towards the end, Coach Caputo leaned over to me and said, we're going to be giving him an offer.
It was a pretty cool moment. So to have his trust and the coaching staff trust me after all that, I'm definitely very grateful for the opportunity that they gave me.
When I first met him, I was new to the team as well, so I actually knew who he was prior to coming here because he's from the Denver area. So once I knew his story, I'm like, wow, bro, like to see you shake back off of that in 2 years. And then he had his first game here. He had like 23 points or something like that.
Jerry Quinn, our friends up in Connecticut.
When he shot his first three, I knew it was going in.
Garrett Johnson not wasting any time. Three-pointer from the left side, so two.
And then just to see him continue playing throughout that game, I was just like, yeah, he's back.
I think when you go through something like that for so long, and we had spent, I don't think there's a way to count how many basketball games we've seen him play. You forget all that when you're watching him go through chemo or go through another surgical procedure. That's the farthest thing from your mind. And so to finally see him in his element, it was just a relief. I don't know how to put it. It was pure joy. When he finally just took it all in and smiled about what happened, and to see him have joy.
We came back in the locker room, I'm like, nah, like if we pouring water on anybody, it has to be Garrett Johnson, bro. Like 2 years, then played, and then to come back and drop 20, it's like, that's remarkable. So I'm just so happy for him. I tell him that every day, and I continue to support him regardless of anything.
As I told him afterwards, just playing in the game was a tremendous accomplishment and inspiration to so many people. To see someone represent the university the way he did there, I think is a great thing.
I chose number 9 because I went through 9 rounds of chemotherapy. Sometimes when you're going through, school, basketball, you're part of a team again, you kind of forget everything that came before that. I just wanted to have a daily, constant reminder of what life was like before and everything I've been through, and that, this is really the easy stuff, like the fun stuff that I've been waiting to do.
I think our players, while they're young, I think they have understood what Garrett's been through. They understand that he's had to experience some things that, many of their, family members, older family members may have experienced, and yet he sits in the seats that they sit in. I think it gives our players some perspective on the bigger picture and life as it is.
For every game, the national anthem, that's kind of my time where I think about every moment that I had been through, sitting in the hospital bed at like 3, 4 in the morning, they're coming in to give you your pills and take blood every hour or two, so you don't sleep at all. I have had times where things were really bad, and I kind of take that time to remember all those things and let those feelings kind of come back. I think it's easy to take things for granted when you've had it your whole life. I know that this could be taken away in a second. I really want to be able to make an impact to people who feel the same feelings I felt when I was going through the roughest parts of it. You kind of get some insight on what, whether it's cancer or whatever it is. I think there's a lot of people out there that feel like they're alone and nobody really understands what they're going through, because I definitely felt that. But if I can, impact people, kids that are going through tough times and need someone to listen to them or know that everything is, going to be okay and they have people in their corner, I think that's probably the best thing that I could do with my life.